Can I
Hi.
wear one of these tomorrow?
Welcome, welcome, welcome. I just got to
Hey.
see some of you. Hello, hello. Back-to-back people who made the makeup training because I got to do it twice. So if you missed it on Thursday, we did the makeup just now. Katie, did you like it? Did you get some good stuff? Katie Kreider.
Yeah, it was good. It was really good.
Sweet. Yay. Awesome, guys. We'll give everybody a minute. My computer has 28%. So I'm going to play the same game that I do with my car when I'm running out of gas, which is I believe that I'm going to make it to the exit with the E-light on. And I believe that my computer can do a 30-minute coaching call at 28%. So that's just how I roll. There are those of us who believe those things and those of us who don't. You know who you are. The people who will run that E-light on faith. It's not even on science. I try to justify it by telling my husband that I've measured it out and I've like seen from here to here I can make it this far on E and I'll still make it. But it's not true. It's just on pure optimism.
You remind me of that Aerosmith song.
When your battery's gonna die.
Which Aerosmith song, Mabel?
Living on the Edge, the one I
Oh yeah.
Yes. I don't know why.
I've really like turn the AC off to make it last longer because it's going to use more gas.
I like don't accelerate. I'll just try to just coast. I'll just, I like try to do all the things. I've only really gambled hard with it like one time where it would have been a problem had I run out of gas. But I didn't. So knock on wood. And
I'm not sure where you are, but we don't get to use AC too much in the Pacific Northwest.
No, the house is here. So side note for everybody who's on the different parts of the country, Washington State does this like really funny thing where if you are in a house, when we lived in base housing, it looked like there was AC. There was actually like a thermostat, but they don't actually install the AC units in like the majority of the houses out in Washington State. So it's like this trick. You think there's going to be AC and there's not. There's no AC here. It's really confusing. All right, guys, time to get cracking. So the first thing that I'm going to do is in the chat box, I am putting the phone number that you need to text if you would like, and we would love if everybody would like this. So I just want to say that if you would like to get text reminders about coaching calls, we're not going to text spam you a bunch of nonsense. It is literally Brooke or myself on the other end of this thing sending you a reminder with the link. So all you have to do is text this number. You do have to sign up because it's like one of those things where if you don't actually do it, we can't do it for you. So if you text 425-382-8682, just text anything to that number. It'll say, hey, blah, 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 you're in, just follow the instructions. And then you will get reminders for group coaching calls with the link. So we would love for everybody to be on that. And then also if we ever have something else we could send out, like that really cool graphic that we put out in the Facebook group last week of like what to do with your coaching, what happens on Sunday, what happens on Monday, we can even text that to you. Then you can save it in your phone. So I put that number. I'm going to say it one more time, just in case you're listening to the audio version of this replay. You need to text 425-382-8682. No, good question, Carrie Dane. She said, if we are already getting them, do we need to text it again? Nope. You are all set and good to go. You are good to go. So another couple quick announcements before we dive into our topic for the night. Next week on Saturday or Sunday-ish is when we are going to do our Marco Polo mix-up. It is going to be a positive. It's a great thing. We're making Marco Polo groups a little bit smaller, a little bit more doable. So you're going to see that happen. Do not stress about it. You don't have to do anything. We will do it for you. And also, nothing is stopping you from staying in touch with the people that you love. So just because we're going to organize our coaching structure this way, just to make it more doable, does not mean that you can't continue the conversations with the relationships that you built. So by all means, like, there are like not breakup groups. There are breakout groups, like for running, for meal prep. There's different groups, but you could also just make one with some of your homies, your accountability buddies. Totally fine. This is for coaching structure, to make coaching, you know, inside Marco Polo groups a little bit more doable. So you guys will see that happen next week. The other thing that is a week from now is we're going to start a group 7-day reset. So if you're like, yep, that's what I want to do, is get going with the group 7-day reset. That is a week from today that we are going to do that together. And then the following week is when we start our 8-week program. So if you started a couple months ago and did our foundations program, then you're going to be doing mindset. If you've completed mindset, then you're going to be doing impact. If this is your second round of year, because a bunch of you are doing your second year with Fitme, then you are going to go back through whichever program you want. It's kind of up to you. So talk to your coaching partner about it. But even though it's a repeat, it never feels like a repeat. Ask anyone who has gone through it. Like Mabel, I think, has done mindset 3 times. And each time it's different. It feels different. You're in a different place, a different season, so you can tackle the questions differently. And honestly, you can get deeper each time. So even if you're like, you know what, I just want to go through the nutrition foundation again. Like if this is your second year, there's zero reason why that's not going to feel different right now as you kind of circle back to those things. And so there's no wrong answer, but talk to your coaching partner about which one that you're going to do. Any questions on any of that stuff? I always feel so official when I get to do like announcements at the beginning. Sweet, guys. All right, well, let's get to it. So the past few weeks, we talked about where we want to be in a year from now. We talked about the simple, repeatable strategies that we're going to use to get there. And this week, we are going to set some measurable benchmarks about where we are right now. And so your target for the week is to fill out the Fitme assessment that you did when we started Fitme. So when you joined, you filled out an assessment. So I'm going to put the link. You don't freak out. You don't have to do anything weird. Just click on the link and fill it out. Okay. What's cool about it is when you go back through it, you're going to remember that you rated a bunch of things on a scale of 1 to 10. How do you feel about your breakfast choices? How do you feel about your confidence around nutrition? How do you feel body image stuff? Like your different things about where you're at, you're going to rate where you are right now. And what's awesome about that is, one, we can take a look and compare. Your coaching partner can take a look at where you started and where you are now. And that is going to bring to light some holes in your game. So one of the reasons that we do this periodically is because we want to see you making progress in the areas that really stood out. And if you're not, then let's figure out how to get you there. So we want to benchmark it from where you started to now, but we also want to say, okay, here's where you're at right now. And this is what you said you want to be doing or where you want to be at in a year. So these are the ones that really stand out. So those are the kind of conversations you'll have with your coaching partner. There should be like a glaring, this one's burnt right in my face as like, I don't feel good about this piece yet. If your goal is body composition related, so either you have a weight loss goal or you have some sort of physical goal, then we need to benchmark where you are right now. We can't start 7-day reset, 8-week program onto 2021 year if we don't know where you're at right now. So it doesn't have to be the scale. It can be, but I wanted to go over on this call some other ways to measure physical progress. So you have some options. Now in your assessment, you can include some pictures. Pictures are a great one. I would do update pictures. If your goal is body composition, if you're like, I'm good where I'm at, I'm really just want to work on these other things, then you don't have to do pictures, right? We want to benchmark where you're at with your goals. So pictures are a great one. Measurements are a great one. So I want to review real quick. How would you do measurements? You get a soft tape measure. You're going to measure around the widest section of your chest. So usually that's like straight across the nipples, and that's your chest measurement. You want to go around the smallest part of your waist typically. So that's like right around your belly button, maybe a little bit higher. So you'll measure right there. And then you want to go around the widest part of your hips. So what I like to do is put my feet together, and I take my tape measure and I go right around like the middle of my butt, and I measure that. You want to pull the tape measure tight, but not so tight that it like makes an indent, right? So Molly did a video on exactly how to do this. So if your goal is body composition, and you, especially if you don't want to do the scale, we want you to do measurements. We want to be able to know if the steps that you're taking are working, and we can't know unless we have a benchmark. Kristen, no, I wouldn't hold your breath. Just kind of stand neutral and normal. But if you do hold your breath, then that's what you have to do every time. So that's going to be the rule. So whatever you do again. So if you do these measurements in the morning and you did them in the morning before, do them again in the morning. Our bodies kind of change shape throughout the day. Like we retain water and fluctuate and stuff. So try to be consistent. So pictures are a great way to measure body composition change. Scale is one option. Measurements are another option. Clothing, excellent option. So you can use a piece of clothing you already own, or you can use a piece of goal clothing as long as it doesn't mess with your head. So all of these things get the caveat as long as it doesn't mess with your head. So I have someone that told me last week that they're actually going to buy a bathing suit. One of their goals is to be in a two-piece. Like they don't care about what the scale says, but they really want to feel comfortable in a two-piece. They don't own one. So her homework for the week was to actually go get one that she's excited about in one size down from what would fit right now. So not like dream body weight goal, like of my life size, but one size down, a swimsuit that she's like amped about. That was her goal to go get. And she's going to take pictures in that, because we're going to use that as her measure of progress rather than the scale. So those are really good ways to measure, are you having physical change? There's obviously other ones like we've talked about before, so I'm not going to go into depth on like the ones that you can go do, like a DEXA or a bod pod or a hydrostatic weight, but certainly those are good ones too. I just wanted to do like the more practical ones. If your goal, the things that you said that you want to do, right, are like a not body composition, we still want to benchmark where you're at. So talk to your coach about how do you define what progress looks like? How do you know you're moving towards that place you want to be? There's a lot of different ways to do it. So say you're like, I just want my family to eat better. Okay, well, that's like a good goal, but that's not clear enough yet. Like this time next year, I want my family to be eating a lot better. Okay, that might be where you started. What's a simple, repeatable thing that you're going to do? Well, I'm going to, each Sunday, I'm going to, order groceries. That's what I'm going to do. So you decided that. We still have to measure, are you making progress towards that? How do we know you're getting there? So maybe think about, using this example, how many times do you guys eat out a week now? And you write that down. Okay, we eat out like 8 times a week right now. Ideally, it would be like once a week. So then you can actually measure, are you moving towards that target? So we still want to find ways that we can know for sure, are you moving towards it? If the place you want to be at is like a feeling place, I want to feel like, X, Y, and Z this time next year, how will you know you're getting closer? And I still think this is a really important thing to kind of benchmark. So as you're filling out your assessment, think about that. If it's not on there, like, how are you going to know you're getting closer to that place? And you and your coach can talk about that. For all of the feels, sometimes it's a frequency thing. So I'm certainly not a clinical counselor or a psychologist, so this is not clinical in any way. But one of the things that I've observed in coaching is that if you have body image stuff, right? One of the ways that you can measure if that's getting better is the frequency of times where you go down in the dumps about it. So if it used to be like every other day and now it's like once or twice a month, then you're doing a lot better. You're having way more good days than not good days. That's just a simple, way to say like, this is improving. Like my mental stuff is improving. So that's your target for the week. Your target is to fill out the Google form. So every single person in Fitme is going to fill that out this week. You're going to do update pictures if your goal is body composition. If it's not, you are going to figure out what it is that you need to benchmark. Like maybe your goal is to be a whole lot stronger. So you actually might need to measure some of those things. Like maybe your goal was to do a pull-up. Okay, well, you better take a video this week of what your current pull-up situation looks like. We want visuals, where you're at, if your goal is to build more muscle, then how are we going to know you're there? Well, yeah, you can do a body fat thing, but you can also do some strength tests. See how many push-ups you can do in a row. See if you can, what you can back squat if you've got access to it. If you don't have access to it, get yourself a weight and see how many squats you can do before you have to take a break. Like be creative because that's going to make this fun to measure. You're going to be able to see progress. But the biggest mistake one of the biggest mistakes I see is that there's no measurable way to track your progress towards your goal. And so that's kind of what we want as our target for the week. So let me open it up to you guys and I want to hear from you. For everybody who's listening to this on the replay, we will put out the link to the Google form in all the places, just in case you can't click it live. So we'll put it out in all the Marco Polo groups. But let's chat about it. I want to hear how you're going to benchmark where you're at right now.
When we first did the first 8-week program, I totally took pictures and never sent them to Rachel because I forgot. And I also have measurements that I did send her. So I'm going to redo my measurements and do pictures.
Awesome. And you have the old ones. So just send those.
I do. Yeah, I need to send them both. Yeah.
Yeah, send those too. Good. I like it. Anybody else have thoughts, questions, or want to share what they're doing this week?
I'm the same. I'm going to do pictures and measurements. And I would love to be able to read. Can I access my first one?
Yeah.
So that I can see what I said?
I want you to do this one though first.
Okay. But that sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
It'd be fun to see what my mindset was like a year ago. Because I know that that's changed quite a bit.
Your coach will have access to your old one. So that would be really fun to look at.
Yeah.
So they can share that with you. So if you want to see, but don't look at it first. So no cheating. Don't look at your old one and then rate things better or something.
Can we put reasons that we might be worse, like we gained weight because we had to stay at home because of COVID?
Yes, you need to put the reasons why anything has gone down. No, you can put whatever you want on there, but I think that 2020 threw a lot of curveballs. And so anything that is, I'm sure everyone has some positives and some improvements on there that you can celebrate that happened even in 2020. And then if some things didn't go the way that you wanted, you can just make the mental note. Like, I did these other wins. This thing didn't happen. So that's why I'm tackling it now. Like, I didn't forget about it. It didn't come off the radar, but I'm going to hit it now. Good question, Erin.
So I have to say, this was such a surprise of bam, remember those pictures you took when you first started? We're going to check up on you. So I almost have this little sense of dread of, sorry, my 1-year-old going crazy. I almost have this sense of dread of oh my God, did I do what I was supposed to do? Is there a difference? I'm very positive about what I wrote because I'd like to see how I've changed because I've know mentally I've changed. but there is this sense of like, oh no, now we have to like put what the proof is in the pudding of like, how did I change? How much did I change? I wasn't expecting this.
Mhm. I'm glad you shared that, Sarah, because I think it's important to say that we want to approach this kind of benchmark where you're at right now week without judgment. And that can be really hard, especially if you're not exactly where you want to be and you're comparing to an initial or something. But know that that's why you're doing this. Because solo, we probably wouldn't benchmark where we're at right now. It's if it's not going the way we want. We like to benchmark things when it's going in the way we want. When it's not, we don't. So part of you doing it is because you have this accountability structure and this judgment-free zone where we can take this snapshot of here's where you are right now. There's zero judgment. We're coming off the holidays. We're coming off 2020. Here's where you are. You said where you want to be a year from now. So then how do we get there? And that's how we're going to approach it. And just like everything, changing our mindset around this isn't just automatic. Taking pictures in January and like measurements is very much a part of diet culture. If you're doing it for the like, let me punish myself for the holidays and let me lose this weight as fast as possible and let me do whatever. But we are using tools for different purposes inside Fitme. We're using it to support our goals rather than to apply like judgment or demeaning ourselves. And so that's why it's an important conversation to have with your coach. Like if you are having like a mental hang up with this or any piece of it, then it's a great conversation to be like, this is where I'm at. Like, I don't even want to take a measurement. That's a good conversation to have. Why? You say that you want to fit into a different size. That was a part of what you said you wanted, but it's too mentally hard to take measurements. So what's going on here? And then, okay, well, what can we use instead? Let's be creative and find what is going to feel good and work for you.
I was going to say, if there's something that you know is a block, like for me, the scale is better, but it's still a mental block for me. And so I'm not going to use the scale because I know that it'll just send me down a nasty hole that I don't want to go down. So maybe like, yeah, like talking to your coach and like figuring out like if there is something that is let's not even do that. Like, don't even go there. Like,
you don't have to.
Yeah.
You do not have to. In the assessment, it has a place for measurements and scale, but they're not required. The pictures are not required. It's just there. So if that is your goal, we can track it. Everyone is different. Some people can use the scale as a data point and as just like a tool, and other people, it really messes with your progress because one bad number will throw you for a week. And if you're that person, then that scale is not serving you and it doesn't have to exist. There is no universe that's forcing us to use that. That is something we put on ourselves. But if it's a tool that works for you, then it's a piece of data that your coach can use. But if not, then there are other ways. There are certainly other ways. And picturements and measurements are good. I actually made a suggestion to someone this week that if you're mentally hung up on the scale, but you want to use it, so you're like, I want to use it, but it throws me off and I don't know what to do, change your scale to kilos. We have a lot of attachment to certain numbers in pounds. You were told at 12 you were supposed to be blah, blah, blah pounds. You remember that time in your wedding when you were blah, blah, blah pounds. You have a lot of that. You probably have zero attachment to kilos unless you're a scientist or something, and then you're probably still not like weight oriented. Or medical people, you might be screwed because you might actually know. But when I started weighing myself in kilos for weightlifting, I felt nothing because we weighed in kilos. So it felt like nothing. I was like, oh, cool. I used to be this and now I'm X kilos and that means nothing to me. It's not a work for everybody thing, but it can be helpful if you want to use the measurement tool, but you don't want the baggage associated with certain numbers.
So along that, Christy, I was gonna say something that I use, which maybe it's weird, but I just realized I use it kind of subliminally, I guess I'll say. I don't realize I'm doing it, is what my face looks like when I take pictures. Because I've shown my husband pictures of me from 2 years ago, and I'm like, I don't want my face to look like this again. So because I've tracked my weight for so long and my measurements, I can go back and say, well, what was it? And I know like where I don't want to be, but I just use like, what does my face look like in pictures? And I think that's probably been my biggest, the one thing that like I don't have a mental block, because we always take pictures, is I can say, am I happy with what my face looks like in pictures and how round it is and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Especially if it can be from that, like, I'm not hung up on it place. I wouldn't recommend like fixating on a body part if you're hung up on it, like if it's a thing. But if it's not a thing and you're just like, hey, I know when I can see, like, so say for example, you're like, hey, when I can see my like my back muscles, then I know like I'm in a place where I feel really good. But when I can't see them, then I'm like, oh, I got a little extra fluff. Like that can be a positive, because then you're like, okay, well, I'm making progress. I can see those back muscles coming through and there's no hangups.
It's funny that you said that, Erin, because I noticed like flipping through pictures, same thing, like face, and the difference of different times, and not having been tracking, but I can kind of remember, oh yeah, that was when blah, blah. But face is, it's funny. I think body, like full body versus face, I feel like face is maybe less mentally angry when we see ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, like versus a full body. But I was noticing lately, looking through different pictures, my face looking different and more round, more defined at different times.
And physiologically, the way that it works is you actually lose weight in your extremities first. So if you are losing weight, you're actually going to see that change in your face, your wrists, even your ankles before you see it in your middle. It's like just the way our bodies work. Depending on how much weight you have to lose, sometimes you can even see a line that will move up as you lose body fat. But I think, yeah, pictures can be helpful. My recommendation with pictures, though, is that they should be neutral, like other things, right? Like not all pictures look the same if you go from different angles and stuff. So if you are going to use pictures, you know, go straight on, use the same kind of clothes, the same kind of lighting, because that's how you're going to be able to compare, instead of tricking yourself. Well, I look so much worse today, and really you just like took your picture from your lap, or you like let your 3-year-old take it and you're like, I'm terrible. And it's like, no, you just let your dog take your picture. Like, looks, of course it looks terrible.
I didn't know that about extremities, and I will tell you, I call my feet stupid because they pretty much are. You lose weight in your feet. I had shoes that it blew me away. I never ever would have thought, really, but your extremity thing makes sense.
Yep. Especially for women. And sadly, you lose it in your boobs. So if you notice that, that's also true. Be nice if you lost it from the places you wanted to lose it and it like added to your boobs, but that's surgery.
So I was gonna say along those lines of like taking pictures, because I lose it in my face kind of instantly. I can see when I've lost and I can see when I've gained within a day or two. But I would even go farther to look at like how my mood looked in the picture. When I look at pictures of myself 4 or 5 years ago, where I still thought that I was like chubby, I looked happy because I wasn't as stressed out about the way my clothes fit or the way certain things look on me. And I just looked a little bit more kind of carefree than now when I take pictures and I'm like, wait, let me see what that looks like. Did my chin hide? Was I sucking in my face? Like, I'm so much more attuned to like my angles, where years ago when it really wasn't a big deal, really wasn't caring about what angle you took my picture at.
It's funny to reclaim a little bit of that, the photograph innocence, right? Like kids, you take their picture and they're like, oh my God, I look bad in that picture. You know, they're just in it. Or they're doing something cool. It's really a nice idea to think about how you feel when you're in it. I shared it on Instagram, but I took the habits and I put it in a paper journal. Just because I had this paper journal on my desk, and it's all the same stuff that's in our trackers. You know, it's the water, movement, no processed sugar, junk, no alcohol, and then the number of Fitme plates. So it's exactly the same as what's in your tracker. Just put it in here, but I also put a line because underneath I'm using this journal to have some like reflections about how I feel or little wins or, you know, something I'm grateful for. And I think especially as you start this chapter, right? For all of us, this is a new chapter. That's what's exciting about it. That's why the New Year is exciting, because it is this new season and chapter. Writing down some stuff is really valuable. And Sarah, I think that's like a really good point, is if you're going to look back at pictures and compare, like even sharing where you're at right now, giving yourself some credit along the way. And all of these benchmarks, this is the very last thing that I'm going to say about the assessment, but specifically about the benchmark things, is I want you to treat yourself like your best friend or your daughter. So whatever shenanigans like pop up in your head, when you do those measurements and pictures and scale, or you do that back squat and it's like way less than it should be because of X, Y, and Z, or you go for that mile run and it's not so good, that narrative starts now. Just because we're benchmarking right now doesn't mean we get to like trash ourselves right now, because in the future it's going to be better. We start right now with, okay, this is where I'm at. It wasn't pleasant, but I'm on my way, you know? So remember how we, you know, our self-talk. So that's it, guys. That's your target for the week. Fill out your assessment. Whatever you need to do to benchmark where you're at in line with where you want to be a year from now. I'm going to take a quick pick. I probably would have made it. I'm just going to say we're 3 minutes past and I came to my desk to plug my computer in. It was at 3%. So I'm just saying I would have made it, but I was on the safe side because I didn't want to have to dial back in. All right. Picture time. Everybody turn your faces on. 1, 2, 3. Hold on, I have to do a second one because we have 2 screens. Wait, no, I think we're good now. Where'd it go? Okay, good. All right, guys. Have a fantastic week. I will talk to y'all soon. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.